To begin this project, you'll need the red wooden truck and the 14-inch wire wreath form, both from the Dollar Tree. I'm also using 5 different types of ribbons that I purchased at Michael's. I'm using a burlap type wired ribbon, and you will need the whole roll. It's 75 feet. I'm also using the black and white and the red and black buffalo plaid check. I'm also using a 7/8 inch black and white check and a 2.5 inch gold wired ribbon. You're also going to need some floral wire. I have 2 different styles here, either will work. I'm also using some items that I have in my stash. I'm using 5 of these gold glitter Dollar Tree stars, along with this little white star that I had left over from my 4th of July supplies. I'm using some small pine cones and some of these small red berry picks. I'm using these colors from my wreath, but you can customize your colors to match your home decor. To cover our wreath, you're going to start with the burlap type ribbon. You're going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. Take a piece of wire and push it through the 4 layers of the ribbon. Once that's complete, you're going to attach it to the support bar on the wreath form. Once it's twisted on, you can either cut off the extra wire or just kind of wrap it around the support. To make the wreath, we're going to form 3 separate loops on 3 of the separate sections. You're going to pull some of the ribbon through the bottom and pretty much then decide what size loop you want. After slipping the first loop of ribbon through the wire form, you're then going to slip another piece of the ribbon through the wire form. While you're doing this, make sure that you're holding on to your ribbon. Then slip the last piece of ribbon through the last wired section. It's a little tricky at first, but just make sure that you hold on to your loops. Now turn your wreath over, making sure that you hold on to your loops. You're then going to twist your ribbon 2 or 3 times. You're going to go back down to the bottom and follow the exact same instructions. You're going to pull your ribbon through the bottom section, and then the middle section, and then the top section, making sure that you keep them all the same size as you go along. Once again, turn your wreath over, and now you start to see how the loops are forming your wreath. Once again, making sure that you keep the ribbon twist tightly in your hand, start to make another row of the loops. After each row of the ribbon loops, you can decide how tightly you want the wreath by how closely you push them together. It's a bit tedious, but just keep making your loops and be sure when you twist on the back of the ribbon that you keep it tight before starting your next row of loops. I put 4 rows of loops in each section of this wreath. I continued looping the ribbon through the 3 separate sections and pushing them tightly together. You can always change up the red truck that you're putting on the wreath. If you don't want it to be a holiday wreath, you can remove the word Merry Christmas and repaint the truck red, and also remove the Christmas tree off the back. And by doing this, you can make it more of a seasonal wreath and not so much a holiday wreath. To complete the ribbon part of this wreath, I used almost the whole roll, which was 75 feet. To attach the last piece of ribbon to the wreath, I just cut it from the roll. Then, using a piece of wire like I did in the beginning, I folded the ribbon in half and then in half again, and then I slipped the wire through the ribbon. and attached it to one of the center supports. I then just straightened all the loops of the ribbon and kind of evened them out. To help keep everything in place, I ran a bead of glue along the 2 wire supports on the back of the wreath. I'm using 4 different types of ribbon for this project. I'm going to make 12 bows with 3 pieces of ribbon in each one. Each ribbon is going to be 10 inches in length, and all I did was cut a piece of cardstock at 10 inches, and then I wrapped the ribbon around it 6 times. Then using my scissors, I just cut the ribbon from the cardstock. This is an easy way to get your ribbons cut quickly. Then using my scissors, I cut both ends of the ribbon away from the cardstock. Once all your pieces are cut, we're now going to dovetail the ends. You can dovetail your ribbons one at a time, or you can put a couple together, and that's what I'm doing here. You fold the ribbons in half and then just cut away at an angle. You're going to do this to all 48 ribbons. Once your ribbons are cut and dovetailed, we're now going to group them into sections. I'm using some floral wire that I have on hand, and I'm actually going to cut it in half because you don't need this full-size piece. I'm using 3 pieces of the ribbon together, folding it in half to find my center point, and then I'm just going to squeeze it together and use the half piece of the floral wire, fold it over the top of the ribbon, turn it over, and twist it tightly together. Once that pattern of ribbon was complete, I moved on to my next pattern. I chose to use a thinner ribbon in this group of bows, and it was just personal preference. You can use the same size for each, or you can change up the size of the ribbons. When you're finished, you'll have 12 bows. I placed the red truck in the center of the wreath, and this will give me an idea of where I want to place my bows. Once I decided where I wanted to place the bows, I just removed the red truck from the wreath. I secured the wires around 2 of the metal supports inside of the wreath. When I placed the ribbons near the back, I used the 2 bottom, and when I placed the ribbons near the front, I used the 2 top supports. And just make sure that when you twist the wire on, you twist it tightly to the support. After that, all you do is continue around your wreath and just attach the 12 clusters of bows. Once I was done, I just fanned them out around the wreath, filling up all the little spaces. I'm going to soften up the red color of the truck and give it some definition with my pencil. I used the edge of the pencil to run it along the edges of the truck, and then I just smoothed it out using my finger. This step is completely optional, but I like the way the pencil brings out the 3D features of the truck. Once your truck's complete, we're now going to add on this little star. This too is completely optional, but I had this in my stash from the 4th of July, so I just hot glued it onto the top of my tree. I then hot glued my truck into place in the center of the wreath. Now it's time to add the 5 gold stars. I decided where I wanted them to be, and then using my hot glue gun, I secured them into place. Once all the stars were glued into place, now it's time to glue in the pine cones. I'm using 6 small pine cones. Once I decided where I wanted them to be, I then used my hot glue gun to secure them into place. The last step is just to add a little accent to the wreath. I'm using some of these red berry picks. Once I cut them into smaller stems, I'm then going to randomly glue them onto the wreath. Once your berries are in place, your wreath is ready to display. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.